Hi everyone, this is Kriti here and you're watching Chilly&Vanilla by Chef Kriti. Today I'm going to show you how to bake an eggless delicate chocolate sponge from scratch, and we'll be making it in the shape of letter R, and this is called as a monogram cake. Then I'll show you how to layer, crumb coat and cover it in chocolate buttercream frosting with tips on decorating it as you can see it here in the video. So let's begin with all the dry ingredients, namely cocoa powder, Maida, that is all-purpose flour, powdered sugar, baking powder, baking soda and salt. So you can take caster sugar also and you can take powdered sugar also, that's not an issue. We sieve all the ingredients through the sieve. All the quantities are listed in the description box below and you can refer to that. So once you sieve that, you get rid of all the lumps that are there in the sugar and your cocoa powder. Now set aside the dry ingredients. We take the wet ingredients, for which we take some water and we heat it up a bit. Now add butter into the same pan so the butter also melts, and you don't need to melt it separately now. So we saved a step. And once the butter has started to melt, we add lemon juice to it, and I'm using a ready-made one. Followed by this, we add instant coffee powder and vanilla extract. If you would like, you can skip the coffee powder, however it enhances the chocolate flavor and you wouldn't taste any coffee in the cake. Now we mix the wet into the dry with a whisk until you don't see any dry flour bits. There's no need to use a spatula here. A whisk does the job well. We just make sure that we don't over mix the whole thing. Mix it only until you don't see any dry flour bits. Now I have my prepared pan that is lined with the parchment paper. I'll share a link to my video on how you can do that in the description box below. Once your batter is ready, I always like to strain this batter through a sieve. Trust me, this way you will never have any lumps in your baked cake this way. So always strain your wet cake batters for a lump-free cake. Now this goes into a preheated oven at 180 degrees for 18 to 20 minutes until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. The cake, when touched, springs back and also starts to pull away from the sides. And once it is baked, I let it cool just a bit and I turn it upside down, cover it in a cling wrap and I refrigerate it until I'm going to use it, because right now the cake is extremely delicate and we'll not be able to slice through it. So once it is covered, it goes into the refrigerator or into the freezer section. It does not matter. After this, let's prepare the chocolate ganache, where we melt the chocolate and the butter in the microwave or on a double steamer. But when you do it in a microwave, you do it in 10 seconds burst and keep on mixing it until the whole mixture is homogeneous. If you're doing it on a double boiler, take a pan wherein you heat water, and once it starts to simmer, you place the pan with the chocolate and the butter into it and keep melting it. The water should not touch the base of your chocolate pan, and once the mixture is homogeneous, we add room temperature cream to it. This helps the ganache thicken slightly faster. I've also prepared a simple syrup with little water, sugar and instant coffee. I do not like to add unnecessary amount of sugar to this. It's just for bare minimum flavor. You can even skip this step. Now we come to the cake, which has cooled a little bit and it is easy to handle it. So I've sliced the cake here and we place the two slices on the board, and I have carved out the shape of the letter R by making sure that there is minimal wastage of the sponge and we still get the shape that we want. So after placing two layers one above the other, I have carved out the shape. So this way my two layers will be ready, rather than cutting the shape and then slicing the cake into two. So now my letter R is ready and I separate out the topmost layer. I have only two layers in the cake. So the upper layer I separate out and I add a little bit of simple syrup, which I spoke about. My ganache was not still very stiff, but I still managed to put it on the cake because it is just a 2-layer cake. If it is more layers, then you have to wait for the ganache to thicken more, otherwise it will ooze out from the sides. In this case, since there is only going to be one layer of the cake on top of this ganache, it does not matter even if my ganache is slightly loose. Now once I have put the ganache, I put my second layer on top of it and add the rest of the sugar syrup. My sugar syrup is very less on the sweet side. It has more of coffee flavor to it. Now I add the remaining ganache on top of the cake and I cover the cake layer with it. My intention is not to cover the sides of the cake with this ganache. It is only for layering purposes. However, if there is any extra cake ganache that is left with you, you can always put it on the sides. So once this layering is done, the cake goes into the refrigerator until the ganache is firm to the touch. Only then we can work on the next step, and the next step would be to prepare the chocolate buttercream. So I have already shared my buttercream recipe in one of the videos, and I'll share the link to that video in the description box below. So you need to prepare the same batch of buttercream and mix cocoa powder into it until you find the intensity of chocolate flavor that you like. It does not matter how much you add, it is all up to you how much intense chocolate flavor you like in your buttercream. Now once we have that buttercream ready and the cake has chilled and the ganache is firm to the touch, we start covering the whole cake in that chocolate buttercream. So you can see how I'm doing it, and it is a step which goes on again and again. You keep on covering the sides and smoothing them with a palette knife. Now after this step was done, I couldn't capture how I decorated the cake, but I'll share the tips with you. So once the cake was covered with buttercream, I let it sit into the refrigerator until the entire thing was very firm to touch. In the meantime, I took a batch of little bit of whipped cream and I colored that whipped cream into the colors of a rainbow along with the colors of sky. So I covered the entire cake, which had already chilled, with sky blue colored whipped cream that gave the feel of a sky. And after that I used small piping tip, a small piping bag with a small hole snipped into it, and I made the small flowers and small branches of the flowers. And after that I used the palette knife. On top of the palette knife I used different colored dots and just slided the palette knife over the cake to give the effect of a rainbow. So it was very simple to make. I couldn't capture it, that's why I can't share. I hope the tips help you. So you go through the process of covering the cake again and again and neaten the whole thing up. Once your cake is covered nicely, you can decorate it the way you like. It could be any other way that you would want, but the base is ready with the steps that I have shown to you. If you like my content, like, share, subscribe and press the bell icon for more such recipes. The cake came out really nice. Do give it a try. I hope the tips help you. And this is the final cake look with the sky, the rainbows, the clouds and whatnot. Do give it a try. Thanks. Bye.